Welcome back to another Night Zero video. It's your homie Cody GT, and in today's video, my boys, I wanted to do a bit of a tier list slash who I believe you should try and pick up when you first start the game as far as devils are concerned, and the characters you want to go ahead and try and roll for to start your account. I believe that's going to be very beneficial because you are definitely going to want to have something to target when you first start the game in order to progress at a, I guess you could say, a rapid pace. So with that being said, if you enjoy the video today, go ahead and drop a like. It's greatly appreciated. It means a lot to me. And if you're new to the channel, you enjoy the content today, go ahead and consider subscribing. We're trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So help us in reaching that major milestone and join the family today. Now, with that being said, we are going to go ahead and jump right over to, I believe, this tab here and the collection, so we can see the different devils that you can go ahead and obtain in Night Zero. Now, in my opinion, what you should really be striving for in the beginning is a dealer as well as a tanker, and then you should go for supports after that. I believe the dealers and the tankers are what's going to help you progress pretty smoothly in the game, especially early on. And I'll go ahead and provide you who I believe you should try and go for right off the bat when you're re-rolling and things of that nature. So one of the first characters or devils I did want to go over is Tier, or T that I like to call her. Now, I want to go over her first because I have her, obviously, and she is pretty amazing as far as the damage she's able to deal. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at her skills. So her active skills, now each devil has an active skill and passive skill. So the active skill, sort of judgment, deal damage to enemy when attacking, trigger weakening state to the enemy before the attack, deal follow-up damage in proportion to your critical rate to the enemy after the attack. Damage attack times 280%, weakening, always take critical damage, duration 10 turn, follow-up damage 1 plus critical times attack times 140%. So basically what that boils down to is that her weakening state allows you to always crit, and when she crits, she just does massive damage. And then a follow-up attack, she's able to do a lot of damage is basically all it's really about. She's just a crit machine, and I believe I mentioned that in videos prior. So her first passive skill, deal follow-up damage in proportion to your critical rate to the enemy after the attack. If you dealt critical damage, then trigger burn state to the enemy. So basically, because she's always critting, you're always going to be triggering that burn state to the enemy, which is fantastic. And then this is more of what we just went over. Now, the burn, take damage every turn, and defense is decreased for the duration. So not only are you decreasing the enemy's defense, but they're going to be taking sustained damage over time, which is fantastic. Now, attack times 37% for every turn, decrease defense 540 for every turn, duration 6 turns. Very nice. Now, judge is the other passive skill. Always increase your critical damage during the battle, increase critical damage by 140%. You can see what she's really all about is just crit damage, and really maxing out the amount of damage you go ahead and apply. Now, the unholy skill, blessing of courage, increases allies attack, increase your critical rate at the start of the battle, increase your damage rate during the battle, and you increase attack as well as increase critical rate, and you increase the damage. She's just there to really be your main damage dealer, your main DPS on the team. So with that being said, because I have her on the team, I've been using her often, and she just does amazing damage. You've seen from my videos prior, she she basically one-shots just about everything. Now, in more difficult events, that may change, but as of right now, she's one-shot. And so if you get her, you're able to really progress through the story and progress through the events early on fairly decent. And I believe there's an event now where you can try and obtain her. You have some book summons where you can probably obtain her for free. So that is fantastic. She is an awesome devil to have on the account. Now, the next one I did want to go over is Indra. I mentioned Indra in my last video that I wanted to obtain her. She is a phenomenal dealer, so if you pull her, it's a great devil to start your account with. So we're going to go over her active skill, which is lightning. Deal damage according to the number of enemy in the attack area to the enemy when attacking. Now, let's take a look at her attack area. Her attack range is basically 9 squares. That takes up a lot of range right there, so you're really going to be hitting multiple enemies. So this active skill really applies, and it actually is tailor-made. So if the number of enemy is greater than 3, deal additional damage. Trigger stun state to the enemy after the attack, so you can have the ability to stun as well. That's amazing. Now attack times 150%, number of enemy in the attack area, additional damage attack times 75%, stun, unable to do normal attacks for the duration. That is really good. Really good. Every attack you get turns to a critical hit, duration 4 turns. It's amazing. That's just an amazing active skill right there. Moving over to the passive skill, Rainy Storm, deal additional damage to enemy in proportion to the number of enemy in the attack area before the attack. Trigger stun state to the enemy before the attack. Additional damage attack. Okay, so this is more of what we just read and what we just saw, so that's really cool. And then the other passive skill, trigger poison state to the enemy after the attack. Poison, take damage every turn, and attack is decreased for the duration. I mean, that's phenomenal. And then attack times 19.5% for every turn, decrease attack 4% for every turn, duration 6 turns. So you're debuffing the enemy, they can't hit as hard as they normally would, plus they're taking additional damage, plus the active skill where you get to stun them, they don't even get to attack. Amazing. Moving over to the unholy skill, control weather, increases allies attack, trigger barrier, additional HP stayed on yourself at the start of the battle, increase your damage rate. So you get a barrier for yourself, so you become a little more tanky, as well as additional HP. You increase your allies attack. Amazing unholy skill. So Indra is definitely a phenomenal devil to go ahead and start your account with. So you definitely want to try and roll and re-roll for her and try obtain Indra. She is fantastic. Now the next one I did want to go over is Lucifer. Lucifer is really interesting. So you can see the attack range is not great. That's one thing that kind of inhibits Lucifer, but his skills are pretty interesting. I do like them. So Sword of Corruption, active skill, deal damage to enemy when attacking, deal follow-up damage in proportion to the number of dead devils after the attack. So he is a really good devil to go ahead and utilize when you pretty much wiped out the entire team and you have one guy that's really it's hard to kill. You can use Lucifer, and it seems as if he will really do max damage on that last standing man. So now deal follow-up damage once more. So you do a follow-up damage. Now damage attack times 285%. Follow-up damage, number of dead devils plus 1 times attack times 25%. Follow-up damage attack times 130%. So that's a pretty good active skill. Now the passive skill, Authority Challenger, deal follow-up damage to the enemy in proportion to the attack and number of dead devils after the attack. Deal follow-up damage to the enemy after the attack. So much of the same there. And then Child of Dawn, passive skill, always trigger stealth state on yourself during the battle. Stealth, avoid being targeted by enemy. That is a really good passive skill. Basically, you become, in a sense, invisible, and you cannot be attacked by the enemy. So the enemy will go after your other allies on the team and will bypass you. So that is a really good passive skill to have, and that will keep Lucifer alive for the duration of the battle, which means then you can kill off most of the devils on the enemy's team and then use Lucifer to wipe the last one out, the last remaining devils out. So that's really cool. Now the unholy skill increases allies attack, trigger, take ability, remove buff, take ability, remove sustained heal, stayed on yourself at the start of the battle, increase your damage rate, increase attack, and take ability, remove sustained heal, duration 10 turns, increase damage rate by 10%. So very good, very good. Now Lucifer would be, I would say, on the lower end of who you'd want to start your account with, but if you did pull him, not a bad devil to go ahead and start your account with. And then the last one I did want to go ahead and mention is Orochi. Orochi is really cool as far as his skills and what he brings to the table kit wise. So his active skill, deal damage to enemy when attacking, trigger severe burn state to the enemy before the attack, and trigger ban heal state to the enemy after the attack. So he is one that will burn and do damage over time. So he's one devil that will go ahead and utilize that for you. Now the damage attack times 280%. Severe burn, take damage ignoring defense every turn, and defense is decreased for the duration. So there's a bit of a debuff there, so that's really good. And then the passive skill, trigger severe burn state to the enemy before the attack, increase your sustained damage before the attack. So that's really good right there as well. And then more of the same. And then 8 Bloody Valleys. This passive skill, trigger hit transfer state on the ally in the same column before the attack. Increase your defense penetration before the attack. Hit transfer, so transfer all attack to the ally at the very front in the same row. Duration 10 turns. Increase defense penetration 3,200. Duration 10 turns. So that's a very interesting passive skill. It seems as if you will be able to go ahead and increase your defense penetration, so that way you can go ahead and deal more damage and have that sustained burn damage utilized a little bit better. And then the hit transfer, it sounds as if the damage that would be dealt on you is nullified and is then spread out throughout your front row of your allies, is what I'm getting from that. But in the comments below, you can kind of clear that up for me if I'm incorrect about that. But moving on to the Unholy skill, increases allies attack, trigger, take ability, trigger decrease immunity state on yourself at the start of battle, increase your damage rate, increase attack, decrease immunity, sustained damage taken is increased for the duration, increase sustained damage taken 47%, and increase damage rate 9.4%. So Orochi is a very interesting devil, one that would be fantastic for you to start your account with. So that is another one that you can strive to go ahead and obtain. So as far as dealers, those are the ones that I would really try and obtain. Now, any dealer would be fantastic for you to start your account with, to be quite honest with you. You know, Odin, Susanoo, Mithra, they're all really good dealers to go ahead and start with. Just those are the ones that I mentioned are the ones that I find to be probably on the higher end of what you want to kind of shoot for when you're starting your account and you're rolling. Now for tankers, like I mentioned in my last video, I got Wukong, and Wukong is fantastic. Let's go over her skills. Now tankers you definitely want to have on your team just to be able to tank the hits, to keep your dealers safe and keep them alive so they can deal damage to the enemy. And that's why tankers are so important on or in this game, I should say. So the active skill, deal damage to enemy when attacking, remove enemy's link, distraction, or hit transfer state before the attack, trigger ban on hit effect state to the enemy after the attack, trigger sustained heal state on yourself, really nice. And then you can see the damage and the sustained heal HP is restored every turn for the duration, which is really good. You're healing yourself up, as well as you're removing all of those effects that your enemy can place on themselves to make it difficult to kill them. Now, the passive skill, on hit, trigger barrier, additional HP state on yourself. On hit, trigger sustained heal state on yourself. So you get a barrier and you get some sustained heals. Now the barrier, additional HP, ignore a certain amount of damage taken for the duration. I mean, for a tanking unit, that's what you want. You want a barrier so that way when they're hitting you, it's knocking the barrier's health down and not your own devil's health down. Really nice. Now the Monkey King passive skill, this one is awesome. On death, resurrect with 1 HP only once and trigger the barrier state on yourself. So when you revive with only HP, but you get the barrier. So you then become a nuisance because you die, but then you come back, and then you come back with the barrier. So they got to knock the barrier down before killing you. Really cool right there. I love that passive skill. And then the Unholy skill, increases allies max HP, trigger on hit state on yourself at the start of the battle, increase your damage reduction rate. And then you can see all of that good stuff right there. So Wukong, a very good tank. If you pull her, she is fantastic. Now the next one that I did want to go over is Thor. Thor is really cool and a good tank in my opinion. So Thunder Strike, the active skill, deal damage to enemy when attacking, increases allies defense in the same row, including you before the attack. Really nice. Removes all buff and sustained heal states on the enemy before the attack, increases your defense before the attack. Very nice. And then you can see the stats right there. Really good active skill. Now the passive skill, Purging Lightning, always increase your defense during the battle. That's what you want your tank to do. Always increases your damage reduction rate during the battle. That's what you want your tank to do. So and then you can see the duration rate for the increases of the defense and reduction rate. So that is phenomenal. And then the passive skill, always trigger ban follow-up damage state on yourself during the battle. So very nice. And then the Unholy skill, increases allies max HP, trigger the remove sustained heal and remove buff on yourself at the start of battle, increase your damage reduction rate, all that good stuff. fantastic tank right here. If you obtain Thor, that is a really good tank to have on your team. And then the last tank I wanted to go over is this devil right here. I'm probably gonna butcher the name, Cernia. I hope I said that right. I butchered it. I know I did. But anyways, moving over to this tank right here. Hitting a deer, active skill, deal damage to enemy when attacking, restore your HP after the attack, trigger barrier, additional HP stayed on on ally in the same row as much as the HP recovered beyond your max HP. Really cool. So you put an ally on one of your or you put a barrier on one of your allies, so they're protected. So if you want to put one of your dealers next to her, they're gonna be protected. Really nice. Now, passive skill, trigger distraction state on yourself after the attack, barrier state on yourself after the attack, so you get a barrier. Very nice. Distraction, get all attack aim to allies in the attack range where you are in, and then the barrier HP, ignore a certain amount of damage. So really cool passive skill right there. That'll work really well. And then this passive skill, Blessings of a Runaway, trigger barrier, stay on an ally. Okay, again in the same row, including yourself after the attack. Okay, so you're just throwing up barriers left and right for yourself and your team. Now the Unholy skill increases allies max HP. Very nice. Trigger Link sub state on the allies in the same row and give you Link main state at the start of the battle. Increase your damage reduction rate. Very nice. And here are the stats for everything. Really good tank right here. I like those skills. So those are the tanks that I believe you can go ahead and obtain. Now again, all the tanks will be really nice, but those are the ones that I think you should really focus on. And then the supporters, honestly, the supporters are all going to be really good for you, no matter which ones you get. Now there's only 3, as you can see, SSR, so it doesn't matter. I have Aurora, but Zeus or Enki, they're both are going to be very nice for you. So supporters, if you get them, very nice. But if you're re-rolling, hey, get out of here. But if you're re-rolling, you really want to try and get a dealer or a tanker. So if you get a supporter, try and re-roll for a dealer or a tanker, and then supporters, you know, after you get your main character that you want. So that is everything I wanted to go over, and I wanted to end the video with the summon. I do have enough to go ahead and do a 10 pull, and I wanted to go ahead and try my luck. So let's see what we can get here today. Hopefully we can pull an SSR, and hopefully it's Indra. I really want Indra, but if I get Susano, that's very nice as well. I'll take anybody at this point. Just maybe skip on the supporter. Any good tanker or dealer at this time. Really, a dealer would be nice. I would like another dealer. But with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and drop a like I mentioned earlier. And if you enjoyed the content, consider subscribing. And let me know in the comments down below if it was helpful. Let me know if you like videos like this and want me to do more. I enjoy doing videos like this. They're always very fun for me to make, and I like to go ahead and bring out information pertaining to the game. And if you have additional information, if I was incorrect about something, or you wanted to just add a little bit to it, go ahead and feel free to do so in the comments below, because like I mentioned, I'm very new to the game. I just started it. The game is fairly new in its of itself, if I could speak. So you know, there's always additional information, and I could be incorrect about a lot of things, so keep that in mind. Okay, are we getting an SSR or an SR or anything? No, it looks like we're gonna be getting the shaft, my boys. No, can we get something? Yes. No, it looks like we're getting the shaft here, my boys. That's a bit unfortunate. Something here? No. Okay, you know, it is what it is. You can't always win. You cannot always win, but that's okay. We tried. This Susano banner has not... well, it's been decent. It's been decent. Let me not lie. It's been decent. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the video. And with that being said, remember to stand out, be different, have fun, go further beyond in everything that you do. And until next time, my boys, until next time, it's your homie Cody GT. And I'm out.